Hi and welcome to April's edition of the video blog and the monthly update. Today what I want to look at is a communication process which sometimes when people are connecting makes it really hard for them to understand what it is that's being said. Human beings, when we come across awkward situations or situations we don't feel comfortable with, certainly emotionally we don't feel comfortable with, we will use language as a way of trying to understand things, but not necessarily language that's verbal. We will use ways of being, behaviour, all sorts of things to show people that we are hurting. Over the years I've seen many ways of doing this with the clients I've worked with. And it comes in many forms, and most of them misunderstandings. People look at what is going on and not why. They react to the moment and not look behind it to see why that moment has occurred in the first place. And the what and why principle is a really good one to get your head around this. And again, I go into that in more detail in the site to give you some understanding, some tools to get your head around why things are occurring instead of what is occurring. So when we use this different ways of communicating, we use tools, we use things, items, objects. If, for example, you had a teenager who normally was quite okay, quite down to earth, quite centered, and all of a sudden they came home and they made a real mess in their bedroom, you can do one of two things. You can react to the bedroom mess and you can say, get that sorted out. And you can then have some kind of behaviour reaction to that. Or you can look and say, okay, why have they done that? Why have they chose to do their bedroom? Not anywhere else in the house, just their bedroom. Okay? So from that point of view, you might have a conversation with them and say, okay, what's going on in your world, in your life at this moment in time? Not, don't do that again, but why did you do that? If you can get to the understanding, the reasoning, the behaviour has occurred, then you can solve the problem. If you just attack the behaviour, what will happen is that behaviour may stop because you might punish them or you might do something else. You might take things away from them or you might ground them. But if you do that, you won't get to the heart of the problem because the problem isn't the entire bedroom. The way to work with it is to understand the why. If you don't understand the why, then their behaviour may change, but it may change into something much more dramatic. If they were using the bedroom as a way of shouting their pain, and you tell them that that's not an appropriate way to do that, and they don't have any other resources to do it, they may then start using other alternatives to show their pain, which you don't see. And that can escalate. And sometimes the courts are full of people who have done the wrong thing at the wrong time because of something else. They've reacted to something. It's not necessarily a choice process. And that can end up in very serious consequences. You might have a situation where somebody uses an object in order to connect with you because they are feeling insecure, for example. How that might play out is that they would come into your room or into your home, somewhere where they know you have an emotional connection with, so it might be your bedroom, and they will either take something that they know you will miss, or they will leave something of theirs in the room. An example of this might be that you had a piece of furniture that was left by a relative who you had a close connection with and were emotionally involved with. And if somebody comes into your process, your room, your place, your home, and leaves a cup on that piece of furniture, knowing full well the amount of emotional connection you have to it, then you might find that they are doing that to get your attention, to push a button, a fairly big button in that sense, to make you understand that they actually are hurting. they're not necessarily happy. Now you can react to that in one of two ways, again, similar to the bedroom. You can react to, don't you ever do that again, and what do you think you're doing, and you're a horrible person, and all those kind of blaming processes. Or you can look behind it and see why somebody would do that in the first place. And then you can have a conversation about the why. And if you can do that, then they will be able to connect, hopefully, and communicate effectively and tell you exactly what's going on in their world and their life. But if you react to the moment, then you probably won't get that. You probably won't understand it. So try not to see things just as they are. Try and see things in what they may be trying to tell you. Another way of communicating that in the room when I'm working with couples is that one person who is trying to say their insecure position may use inflated language, may use external aspects to bring more security to their argument, if they were having an argument, or their point of view. So they might say things like, well, I'm not the only one who knows this, so-and-so knows this about you, so-and-so sees this about you. And then all of a sudden you start getting other people in the room who are not there physically, but they're there to support the person who feels insecure. And the person they're having the dialogue with, the argument with, would then maybe bring other people in. And, well, you know, so-and-so said this about you, and so-and-so said that about you. What they're trying to do is they're trying to increase their presence in the room in order to make their point more valuable or more important. And we sometimes find in communication with people that they will use lots of stories, very intricate, detailed stories about situations, scenarios. And they lose the message in the story. So you find sometimes that people go on long-winded explorations and explanations of things. And by the time they get to the end of it, nobody actually understands what they were trying to say in the first place. It's just become a story. Sometimes that's, again, a process of insecurity, or thinking that their view, their life, their way of looking at the world is not as valuable. So maybe it's their confidence or self-esteem in saying their point is valuable, what they have to say is worthwhile. And those kind of things, those symbolism kind of processes, can give you an understanding that that person's reasoning for that is something else. And in the room I would look at that and see, okay, what are they trying to tell me? Because quite clearly they're finding it hard to do so. So don't always look at what's being said. Again, look at why it's being said. And again, you'll find more details of that in the communication areas of the website and some of the tools in order to make you aware of that, or more aware. Most of these things are done subconsciously, they're not done consciously. So it's about trying to look behind the scenes, see the reasoning for things.